it is a question. I feel like most entrepreneurs, we're going to go through hard things. Just expect it to some degree. I don't want to say expect to have hard things, but you're going to have transitions. Things are going to happen. You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. Like there's nobody that's going to be operationally perfect to any degree, especially if you have family and kids and friends and social life and even like your external family. Maybe you're even going through like your familial family things, your mom, your dad, maybe there's things going on with them. But the truth is how do you show up and how can you continue to show up for yourself in those hard spaces?
Hello, hello, hello. I am Dr. Andrea Greiner.
And I'm Katie Corbin.
Welcome to the Dreams to Dollars podcast, a podcast for entrepreneurs and professionals who are on their way to actualizing their dreams into reality.
Join us in this lighthearted and unique podcast where we talk about business, success, life, and building a deeper trust in God and the universe.
We are here to elevate the conversation and bring the magic to build your legacy.
We're excited for you to be here. Can't wait to dive in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's call. First of all, it's going to be showing up when you kind of don't really want to. As an entrepreneur, life can, like everyone's lives, have its ups and downs. And we wanted to just have an authentic conversation around this of what do you do? How do you, especially if you're a business owner, you can't necessarily go and hide away for 9 months. You can't necessarily close the business down for a year if your family is relying on you to have that income. And this is also kind of not to tell you to just grin and bear it and push through no matter what, right? Because we know that that's unhealthy and, dangerous and the same thing. So before we dive in too much, it's been a while. So I just want to connect in with all of our listeners and thank you guys wherever you are in the world. And we're envisioning you at all stages of your business, just finding a cup of tea or a glass of water or a nice refreshing drink to just sit down and join us in this conversation. And whatever you have to add, please feel free to message us and add those comments as well.
Yes. So let's talk about when things get rough. What do we do? Right. So you might even have a mechanism that you're noticing when things get hard in your business or sometimes even actually in your life. Because if your life gets hard, we know that it can transfer into our business. And it's almost keeping good boundaries around that too, as well. So if life gets hard and your personal life is struggling, whether you're struggling in a relationship or you're struggling in a health crisis or you're struggling personally or you're in anxiety or whatever that personal crisis is or personal hardship, right? It doesn't have to lead to a healing crisis. But how do you actually show up? And you can notice this in yourself when things do get hard, when you don't want to get up in the morning and you're like, God, what am I gonna do today when it's just like I'm going through something right now and it's just overwhelming. So I know for me personally, I've gone through a lot of hardships, I would say over the 15 years that I've been in business. And they can vary, right? From like a extreme hardship, like something like a loss, to something that's minor where I'm just, sick or something, I don't really feel like getting up that day. For me, it tends to be I almost ask myself what I need in that day. Sometimes it's actually, I need a break. And if things are a little bit hard and I'm taking a mental health day. I'm checking out today so I can show up tomorrow with, I want to get back into my business. So sometimes if we actually, I don't want to say like, sometimes we do have to push through things, right? Especially like sometimes you can't take weeks and weeks on end. But if there's a day where you wake up and it feels like you're going through something and today feels hard, how do you show up for yourself actually? So are you allowing yourself to take a checkout? I'm going through something right now. I'm gonna shut down my business today, right? Like one day that's not gonna do anything. Or I'm gonna give myself the space to just go out on a hike. Or what do you actually need? And actually by cultivating this and allowing yourself to transcend the hardness and giving yourself some space around the hardness actually helps you push through, right? When the actual hard part, it's like resting. If you're running a race, right, and your calf gives out, you can't keep running. Like you may have to take a little bit of a rest or walk or whatever it is if you want to finish that race. So it's like you can't just push through in that moment. And it's almost like a mental, I would say like a mental shift where sometimes we're just like, hey, we just got to push through. But what if you give yourself some space to push through the hardness? So that's just something I've learned versus pushing through and then hitting into burnout and not giving yourself the space to rest or take a break or pull back, or if you're bored, take a vacation, right? So allow yourself to understand what like that means for you, like the hardness, and then how do you actually get through those hard areas?
Yeah, I love that. And I like that this is going to be different for each person. I always just love operating from question, just like Katie said. So I personally am going through a whole relationship change. And some people there at the beginning it was really, really intense. And I did just take some space. I kind of what could I release? Like maybe I didn't show up for a mastermind call that I was a part of, or maybe I just kind of took some pressure off some of the extras and showed up for the calls, were with my clients and they all kind of knew what was happening. And that really helped me. I was just like, okay, where can I give myself the space, take longer walks, call my therapist, text have that support. And I would ask myself every day, and still am, I'm not, I would say I've moved through a lot of it, but it's like, what do I need to feel nourished and replenished? And even at night, giving myself, okay, is it going to be more nourishing to like numbly scroll on Instagram, or do I want to read a book and journal and stretch? And also when I did want to numb and scroll, just be like, get it, girl. Okay. Like, if you want to numb and scroll for 30 minutes, go for it. And then like putting a stop to, so like, well, I swear the social media things, like they sort of read where you are and they might suck you in, but being aware of like, what is it that I need? So for me, the care of, I always have a massage every week. I try to get regular Myers IVs just for vitamins. Having three kids has played a toll on my body and it's just replenishing it that way. And also, I do an access bars swap. And so those are kind of my non negotiables, that this is part of my self care. So even when I'm going through something big and hard, then I make sure that those get done.
Yeah. And the one thing else I was going to say on this is as the CEO of your company too, as well, it's like allowing in support. So like allowing in your support, like Andrea is saying, like whether it's like the bodily support that maybe you're requiring, or even on if you do have team members, right? You're running a company and you have employees or subcontractors or whatever it is. If you're going through something, you can be as, you can disclose it as much as you want to the company, right? The company culture, whatever you cultivated. But sometimes it's even relying on them when you're going through something, right? Taking some of the load off of yourself and going, hey, I'm going through something right now. Is anybody able to take some more load this week or whatever it is? Or sometimes that actually can help where it's almost like shifting the dial a little bit and going, where do I need support? And whether that is something like bodily support or health support, right? It's sort of the same thing. Or if it's mental support, right? Like again, the same body. Or if it's like logistical support when it comes to like teams. If you're running your company and you're the CEO, but you're also some kind of practitioner inside of your company or you're some kind of service provider or you're providing something, maybe it's allowing some of the team to take a little bit more on depending on, their load and what their capacity is, but it's shifting back a little bit and knowing that your team can step forward and allow you to take that support through your hard times.
Yeah, I love that. Like asking for more, and it's hard sometimes as leaders to be like, I don't know how to ask for help. And it really will help so much with the transition and knowing that sometimes there's good days and sometimes there's bad days. And, thinking about Katie too. And this goes with when you're tired from taking care of sick kids. because you have this period, I think like for like 3 months, and he's like, I am so tired because like I was either sick or a kid was sick and like, and it was like, this is kind of why I wanted to bring this topic forward because it's like, what do you do and how do you keep going when like there's sickness for months or, a big, relationship transition or something that it's not really done, but you're like regaining kind of ground and it can feel really hard and you can't necessarily like check out of life.
Right. You still have to show up even when it's hard. And being in entrepreneurs that are a parent know that, right? Like we know that there's going to
Yeah.
be days where the kid maybe doesn't sleep through the night and you still have to wake up the next day and you still run meetings or see clients or whatever it is. Right. And that's hard. That actually can be
Yeah.
really hard. But how can you also set yourself up for success, not only short term, but long term? So if you had a really hard week, are you allowing yourself maybe the weekend to give yourself some space to rejuvenate? Are you even allowing yourself that space for rejuvenation? Or you're going like, oh, I still need to stay busy and kind of stay in the chaos, right? Because we actually can get
Yeah.
addicted to chaotic cycles. And if we're in that chaotic cycle, and not everybody does this, but it could be that person where they're like, oh, I'm so busy. I'm so busy. I'm so busy. And they're doing a lot of things, but then they're also choosing things that just contribute to that busyness. And I'm
Yeah.
so tired, or I'm fatigued. I can't get up in the morning. I'm having trouble. Well, you're contributing, right, to
Or
the
they have that and then they
busyness.
stay up really late. It's like,
Right.
oh,
Yes.
I should have gone to bed. And I mean, I do that like every once in a while, but not very often. And it's like, okay, I kind of let myself do it. And then it's like, but if you're tired and you're perpetuating it by, that just being aware of like, what is the cycle? And if there's self-sabotage, like if you really do need rest, then what is that, simple, easy structure to help with that?
Right. And it's true, right? It's like snake eating its own tail a lot of times where it's like, oh, yeah, it's really hard and I'm doing all these things or having all these problems. And then you're also creating problems around the actual problem. So we're almost like making it a little bit worse because we're creating the problem, right? The cycle of having a problem, something's hard, and then not really finding a solution necessarily and creating another problem. So that's sort of a madness too. That makes everything even harder, right? We can actually make things harder on ourselves if we're not choosing to choose a solution and then go forth into that solution. So if a solution is everything is hard, I can't show up, I'm going through something really difficult, I'm really busy or whatever it is, like if you're not actually choosing solutions or you're not choosing something that's going to make it easier on yourself, you're choosing hard and you're actually making it almost worse on yourself than it almost needs to be. So this can even go into, we could even do a whole thing on it, like a cycle of self-sabotage. And then how does your self-sabotage cycle escalate either downward, right? Spin downward into almost like this downward spiral into nothing is working for me. Everything is hard. Let's make it harder. Let's make it chaos. Not always we're meaning consciously to do this, but we're choosing harder things and then we're not giving ourselves space and we tend to go down instead of going like, shit, this is really hard on me right now. So I'm going to choose something maybe on the weekend that's going to make it a little easier. And what else, how much more ease can come into my life right now? How can I make it less chaotic? Where do I need space? What do I even require right now? What does my routine require to support me? So that's more what I would say like an upward spiral. Like you're getting
Yeah.
out of that hard space and you're allowing yourself space to cultivate solutions and ease and flow versus force and stagnation and making it hard.
And I want to add, because I always love adding like a simple tool, like some of these things can be, an hour nap or half an hour in nature or getting your feet in the sand or water, right? They don't have to be like, I need a whole day to rest and recuperate because sometimes I'm busy and I'm like, okay, but what's going to be nourishing? And it's like, okay, I haven't been on the beach this week, so I'm going to take the dogs out on the beach for that hour. So I want to just remind that because when we are in that overwhelm or there's grief or loss or that the little nuggets, it's almost like the little nuggets to keep from one self-care thing to the next. So I kind of I also committed to bookending my days with just like a few sun salutations and doing a little bit of sage. Nothing, I'm not doing like crazy hours of meditation, but just little things to kind of add and contribute into my life so that I can ground and be safe in my body and safe here so that everything else can kind of ripple out. So I just want to always remind that this does not have to be, going and getting massages every day or, a whole day off every single week, but even just little nuggets of breaks and shifts, and nature is going to be your best friend if you're going through anything big, because it can really just help ground you and help remind you that you are supported, that there's so much working for you, and kind of that upward spiral that Katie talked about.
Yeah, and this is true too, right? So when things get hard, how can you have fun? Right? Because sometimes when we think like it has to be hard, we're like, oh, I'm in a hard space, got to make it harder, right? That same spiral. So it's like even the question would be like, oh, things are really hard right now. How can I have fun? Like, how can I have more fun in my business? How can I lighten the load on myself? Well, what would be really fun right now? Well, actually, I don't want to do that. I'd prefer to do this, right? So it's even allowing yourself, giving yourself the ability to even shift the mind, going, how can I make this more fun? I know I'm going through hard things, or maybe your business is going through hard things. You can choose to have fun. And it could even be something simple,
Oh
like
yeah.
Andrea said. What if you call your like funniest friend and you laugh with them, right? Like, oh, I'm going through this hard thing, and then you both end up laughing, or
Or
you
you
go
have a
out.
friend like Katie and you send funny memes to each other, and that
Right,
just like something to make you laugh every single day. Have a meme friend, like,
right,
oh, I said this, and it's like we laugh every day because it's like we send each other memes.
right. And like, how can you make life more fun, right? Lighten the load, even if things are hard. It's almost like the thing that's coming through is like, you don't have to contribute to the misery, right? Like, it might be a hard aspect, and you may have to cry and grieve, or move your body, or whatever it is, like do all those things. And at the same time, how can you contribute to yourself and make it easier, more fun, and more joyful in your business? It is a question. I feel like most entrepreneurs, we're going to go through hard things. Just expect it to some degree. I don't want to say expect to have hard things, but you're going to have transitions. Things are going to happen. You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. Like, there's nobody that's going to be operationally perfect to any degree, especially if you have family and kids and friends and social life, and even like your external family. Maybe you're even going through like your familial family things, your mom, your dad. Maybe there's things going on with them. But the truth is how do you show up, and how can you continue to show up for yourself in those hard spaces?
Yeah. And what a good topic.
Yes.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys soon.
Thank you for listening to the Dreams to Dollars podcast. If you vibe with our content and want to find out how to work with us, check out our show notes for the links.